I just explained to him, like, he doesn't have soldiers to fight these illnesses and to fight, when he gets hurt or a bump on his knee, or when he does get an ear infection, he doesn't have soldiers to fight them. And you do.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to ALD No Limits. I am Christie.
And I'm Ken. Our guest this episode is Michaela. Welcome, Michaela, to No Limits. Hello.
Hello, Michaela. So, Michaela, before we get into your ALD journey, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, what your family dynamic looks like?
Yeah, I was born and raised in Richboro, Pennsylvania, which is not too far from Philadelphia. I'm one of 7 girls. So, yeah, it was just us girls. And my dad was the only boy in the house. And we're super close. Me and my sisters are best friends. We do everything together. And our children are also best friends. There's now 7 grandkids on my side. And I'm a mom of 3, caregiver to my oldest sister who has Down syndrome. I'm actually in her kitchen right now. And other than being a mom, being a mom keeps me on my toes.
Absolutely. And where do you fall in the lineup of 7? Just curious.
I'm number 5.
5. All right.
Yeah. My dad's one friend, he calls us by numbers. So he'll be like, hey, number 5.
That's so funny. So you know your number anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yes, always reminded.
All right. Michaela, tell us about how you first learned about ALD.
Everett was born on the 26th of April in 2024. When he was 6 days old, I got a call from his pediatrician that his newborn screening came back abnormal, and it came back abnormal for X-linked adrenoleukodystrophy. I clearly had no idea what that was. I had to ask her how to spell it. I put it in my notes just so that when speaking with my family, I could be like, this is what's going on. She made Everett an appointment at the local hospital and said to get there the next day. Like, she's like, you're scheduled to go there tomorrow morning. Make sure you're there. They're going to want to do additional blood work and just talk with you further about everything. My brother-in-law's sister actually works at the pediatrician that we're at. So she got on the phone, she called me and said that it's very well could be a false positive. It happens all the time. They do have one little boy in their practice already with ALD, and he's thriving. He was, I think at the time, 8 years old, maybe younger, and playing baseball and, going to school. Everything was great. The only thing, I guess, medically wrong was just his eyesight, that he just needed glasses. So that was kind of what I knew. I, of course, went to Google, and there was a tab on there that said life expectancy. And a huge part of me was like, do not click that. Do not click it. Let's wait until we get answers. And of course I clicked it, and it said 5 to 10 years. So I threw my phone. I started hysterically crying. I couldn't eat that day or that night. My eyes were like swollen from crying so much. And that would be one of my biggest things to say to other parents. Like, I know it's so hard to not go to Google, and everyone says it. Everyone says, do not Google it. Whatever you do, don't Google it. And everyone still Googles it. But that is the one thing that unless if they've updated it since then, and updated their information, because it made it seem a lot scarier than what it is currently.
Yeah, definitely. And that experience, I think I've heard so many parents of newborn screening, kids who've been diagnosed with a newborn screen talk about how that fear and getting onto the, the internet and Googling and finding worst case scenarios. And that I think is important insight for sure.
Yeah, when we went to go ahead.
No, I was just going to say it's the ALD gut punch, basically. Is what it's called.
Yeah, we went to the local hospital the next morning. They, had the whole team, the geneticist, I think there was like a fellow who was working, and he came in, and they were giving us all the information, hey, we're just going to redo the blood work. And I was like, well, what's the chance of him actually having it? And he said, well, I've worked here for a year. And in that year, we've had, I think he said 5 or 6 kids that have needed further testing, and none of them have come back with ALD. So, of course, I'm like, oh, perfect. My kid's not going to have it. A year? Are you serious? Like, that's a long time. And my kid, no, he can't have this. And I also have my sister who passed away in 2023, and my grandmom a few months after her. And again, super close with them. So I was like, there's no way my sister would allow this to happen to my son. And there's no way Graham would allow this to happen. It's not true. It's not going to happen. And when they asked if I had any questions and did I want to learn about it, I was like, no, I don't have anything to ask. And my husband asked why when we were on our drive home. And I said, because if he doesn't have it, then I don't want to know about it. Like, I don't want to know all the scary things until we have an official diagnosis. Once we have that, then I will get further into asking questions.
Yeah. And was Everett your first child, or where does he fall in the lineup?
He's number 3. I have a almost 9-year-old girl, a 4-year-old boy, Nash. So it's Autumn, Nash, and then Everett, and he will be 2 in April. And I also believe that everything happens for a reason. And I think him being my 3rd and having it happened for a reason, because if he had been my first, I don't know if I would have wanted any more kids, because me and my husband said that we wanted to have 4. That was always what we said. And, even when I was pregnant with Everett, we were kind of going back and forth, like, oh, I don't know, Nash is a little crazy, and he's a lot. Adding another boy to this mix is going to be even crazier. But it was something that we just said, you know what, let's just go with the flow and not make a decision right now. And then once we officially got the diagnosis, we said, yep, we're done. We have 3 beautiful kids, and we don't need to risk another child coming, with that.
So you got the positive diagnosis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we got that. I think it was like May 16th, I believe, of the same year. And I got tested. I'm the one who has it. So obviously they went through the whole thing. It could be de novo. It could be that it came from one of your parents. And, we all were kind of spiraling at the time too. My older sister was also pregnant. Her son is 2 months younger than Everett. So she was nervous, like, well, they don't screen for this in pregnancy. We've gotten the genetic tests done, and nothing ever came back because they don't test for it. So she did bring it up at one of her appointments, and they were like, oh, that's on I think it's like you normally get the 300 or 500 panel, and she had to get like the 1,000 panel or something more, but she had to specifically ask. They don't just give it to you because you asked for it. You have to have a reason behind it. So, yeah.
So now, and in that, we're probably going to get there, but so we obviously were testing your other son, I'm assuming, and your daughter. Was that then next?
Yeah, they told me I didn't have to test my daughter and wait until she was at childbearing age, or, when she was older and wanted to start having kids. Right. But I decided on testing her just to have that knowledge, and, wouldn't have been something that I would have told her at 8, 9 years old, but just to have, I guess, to be able to prepare for that conversation and have years to prepare, I felt better with that knowledge. And fortunately, she does not have it, and Nash doesn't have it either.
Wow,
awesome.
that's great.
Yeah. It's crazy when they say it's like a 2% chance that you could make it de novo. And I did. So my parents came back negative. Actually, everybody that we tested in my family came back negative, and it's just me and Everett, which super thankful. Like, we all are super thankful for. And it's because even if, I guess, like, my dad would have had it, like, they say you can't go off of your brother or your dad and his symptoms and think that, you know, like, those symptoms will happen to you or your son. So it's, even if anybody else in the family were to have it, we still don't know what will happen to Everett.
Right.
It's like you can have the same variant in the same family and not experience ALD the same way. That's really yeah. So it's just you and your son Everett.
Yes.
Yeah. And being from a big family, how did that make you feel?
I guess kind of alone, but not at the same time. Like I had said, we're very close. So, you know, like the day that we got the official diagnosis, like my sisters, they didn't know what to do. They're like, what do we do? I can't imagine being her. Like, the only thing they knew what to do was to bring dinner over and just sit with me and, you know, say they were sorry. And sorry, I'm getting emotional. So it, you know, feels alone because no one's really ever going to truly understand what I'm going through as a mother. Aside from, you know, the moms whose sons do have it. So that's why I did look on Facebook. I was like, hopefully they have, because they kept saying rare genetic disorder, rare genetic disorder. So I was hoping that I would find something, and thank God I did find all the groups. I joined every group I could find and started reading, started just going through it and seeing what other people were asking, what other people were saying about their own children. And so that could give me also knowledge. And I know in this world, knowledge is power. And so it really did help. Like, even, I'm sure you guys know, once you get the diagnosis, then it's all right, let's go do blood work. And now we're checking the adrenal gland function. And so when he was about 3 months old, they had said he would have to start on steroids every day. And so it was like the 3 times a day, every day for the rest of his life. And my sister, she's a nurse practitioner. And when I had told her, she said, Michaela, I don't know, like, this just doesn't feel right. And I had told them that I found, you know, other doctors that, you know, specialize in ALD, and that I really wanted to reach out to them. So she said, why don't you reach out to that doctor and just get a second opinion and see what he says. So I reached out, and I reached out like a Thursday night, and Friday morning he called me back, and I was like, what? A specialist getting back to me that quick? I told him everything, and he was the first doctor to actually say, like, I expect your son to live a long, happy, fulfilling life. And I broke down in tears when he said that. And I like kept apologizing because everything I heard prior was scary. It was like scaring the life out of me. And there was nothing, I guess, positive. So to finally hear a medical professional say that, and then when I brought up the blood work, he was like, well, I'm assuming he was crying a lot and freaking out. And I said, oh yeah, they couldn't find the vein. So they were like moving the needle around. They stuck him twice. And I mean, he's 3 months old. So he's like, well, did they use Emla cream? I'm like, well, what's Emla cream? And he's like, it's to numb the area so they won't feel it. I'm like, I didn't even know that was a thing. And he said, well, I'll send some over to your pharmacy. Just, you know, I'll give you my nurse's number and link up with her and, we'll get it to your pharmacy for you. Repeat the blood work in 2 weeks. I did that, and the blood work 2 weeks later came back normal.
Wow.
So, yeah, I was like, wow, if I had not called him, my son would have been on steroids at 3 years old. And he's now at the point of needing steroids every day, but it's once a day in the morning. And he, he's on the trajectory of it, but he didn't get diagnosed until he was a year and 10 days old is when he got diagnosed with the partial adrenal insufficiency. So just getting stress dosed. And then it wasn't until end of October that he got the fully adrenal insufficient part for him. So we're still on that road, and that road is challenging in ways, but I'm learning. I'm learning how to do it.
So, it sounds like your family has been really wonderful to you. And I'm sorry to hear about your Graham and your older sister having passed away. But yeah, who else is on your support team at this point in terms of, if you have a hard day with your kids, or if you have something going really well, who's on your team?
Definitely. My husband is a huge, huge help. He is amazing. I can't say anything. I can't even put it into words how great he really is. Very hands-on, and he'll work an 18-hour day in the freezing cold, and he'll be like, oh my gosh, it was so cold today. I had icicles on my beard, and he'll come home and, all right, come on kids, let's go take a bath, and I'll read you a story and put you to bed. And so after even having such a challenging day himself, doing physical labor, he still comes home and helps where needed. And there's times I call him like, please get home. Where are you? I need you. These kids are driving me crazy. But he really does when he comes home, and he's a huge help. My parents are amazing. And again, my sisters, it's so hard to have friends outside of my family because we're so close and we literally do everything together. So it's between being a mom and being a sister in the family I'm in, I don't have time to go and do other things.
Yeah, that makes sense. And what about you? And you said you have ALD. Is it affecting you in any way?
Not sure yet. Still going through testing and blood work and just trying to figure everything out. But I'm trying to do everything that they say to do, which is stay active and just, stay as healthy as you can. That's kind of all we can do. And that's at least what they say. So yeah, honestly, it doesn't really bother me as much that I have it. The one thing that always gets me, and I'm going to get emotional again. And the one thing I said to the specialist, the ALD specialist that I see, I said to her, I just want to make sure that I can dance with my sons at their wedding. So whatever we can do to make that happen, that's what we need to do. I don't want to be in a wheelchair. I don't want to have someone else hold me while I'm dancing. I want to dance with my sons. So let's make that happen. Okay. That is the one thing that upsets me. But other than that, I wish that my son never got affected by it. If I could be the worst case of ALD in a woman could be on me, I would have rather have that than him have it. With him being so young, right now he's fine. He's a normal toddler running around. His favorite word's no, and climbing and being his crazy self. But eventually he's going to get older and he's going to have to be hindered from doing certain things in his life. And That I think is going to be the hardest. And as a parent, is telling him no, that he can't do this or he can't play that sport. And, having his older brother, like, you can't be rough with him. Like, you can't, if he hits his head, like, that's not okay.
Yeah.
So with me, yeah, I guess I don't let it affect me.
You don't think about it as much in terms of, yeah, I think that is pretty trendy among ALD moms, I would say.
Yeah.
I've heard that from many other moms, and I have felt that too. Just, the focus is on my son and making sure that we're testing and monitoring how we need to, and less on me. But it is important for us to take care of ourselves too, like you were talking about, with movement and eating well and paying attention to our bodies and all of that. So
Yeah.
So what does his monitoring look like?
He is getting MRIs every 6 months. So I believe they say that's until, I think, like 13 years old, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it's something like that. Yeah. I forget what it changes to a year, but
yeah. So I know there's a certain age where they say, after that age, then they go to 1 MRI a year. So right now it's twice a year, and then he gets his blood work done about every 3 to 4 months, and we see endocrinology every 3 to 4 months.
Yeah. And you like your team?
I'm sorry?
You like your medical team? You trust them?
I am so biased when it comes to my medical team. They are, to me, I think that I found the best in the world, and I feel as though there's nobody better. And so I'm very happy with who I found to have Everett as, to have as Everett's doctor.
Wonderful. What do you think has been your biggest challenge this whole time?
I guess learning. I mean, I'm pretty savvy with, the computers and all of that, and I've been reading up on everything, and I guess the MRIs really aren't that hard right now. The hardest part is the adrenal insufficiency. So that is just so complex. And when they tell you, well, if they just seem a little off, just, give them a stress dose. It's like, but he's a toddler. I mean, him seeming off is so difficult because, it could just be his teething. And then for teething, I'm supposed to stress dose. Well, it's like, well, no, not if it is from teething. It's like, come on, like, how am I supposed to know? So I am calling my endocrinologist and the on-call often, a lot, and asking, like, and I'm at the point of kind of understanding it. I think that I have a pretty good judgment on when to stress dose and when not to, but I still always call for reassurance. And I think that's the biggest thing with me, is the reassurance part, to make sure that I'm not, I guess, they say don't worry if you give it and he doesn't need it, but for whatever reason, I still worry.
Yeah. Of course, you're a mom. It'd be kind of weird if you didn't, don't you think?
Yeah. Well, so I'm never afraid of really giving it as much as I'm afraid of, did I catch it in time? And
right,
yeah. And is this something that I stress dose over? And it's also, I call, even though I called 5 times prior about the same thing, because I'm like, well, what if I don't have to this time because he doesn't have a fever this time? Like, it's the same thing, but no fever. And the most recent question I had was that he got his morning dose. And about 20 minutes after the morning dose, I'm like, he needs a stress dose. He was falling asleep in his high chair. Not like him. He usually, when he wakes up, he's up until a nap time. And I was like, nope, there's something going on. but I didn't know. I'm like, do I give him the full 5 milligrams now? Or do I just give him another 2.5 because the stress dose is only 5 milligram? And so eventually we figured it out and it was fine. But there's still lots of questions to come.
Do your other children, see all this with that son? Do they question why does he, have to take all this every day, all these steroids every day? I mean, I know it's specific, but why is he taking pills every day, whatever you want to call it?
So I would say it had to have been back in like September or maybe like beginning of October. We went to my daughter. Everything was fine. Then we went out to a restaurant with my parents and sisters, and Everett just wasn't being himself. But I was like, you know what? He barely ate today. He didn't get like a good meal. He also didn't get a good nap. So let's just get him down for a nap and go from there. So we're trying to get him down for a nap. He still just wasn't having it. It was like he couldn't get comfortable. We took his temperature, like we went outside, we took his temp, and it was a low-grade fever. So we're like, all right, we got a stress dose, so let's bring him home. We forgot the emergency kit at home. And so we went home, and then we stress dosed him, gave a little bit of time, but then he just went, he was completely lethargic. And so, at this point, it's me, my husband, and the 3 kids. Nash has really no idea what's going on. I mean, he's kind of in his own little world, but Autumn can see, I brought him into the bathtub with me. I'm, trying to keep him up. He also threw up the stress dose. So I was trying to get that off him. And I do actually have a picture, my husband took a picture because my family was like, what's Everett doing? What's he look like? So he took a picture and sent it to my sisters and was like, this is what he looks like right now. And I've been debating posting it to show people this is what adrenal insufficiency can be if you don't catch it. But Autumn was amazing. She took Nash and was like, all right, come on, bud. Let's get a shower and I'll shower you. And then we can go downstairs. She put on his pajamas and, brought him downstairs and read him a book. And afterwards, I cried and hugged her. And I'm like, Autumn, I am so proud of you. You knew that mommy and daddy had to mainly focus on Everett in that moment, and he needed all of our attention. And you stepped right up as the big sister. And that was unbelievable to take in after the moment, because I feel like in the moment I couldn't really take in, the magnitude of what she did at such a young age. And then, after it was, it was very heartwarming to see that she was like that, because she can be mean to her brothers a lot. They annoy her so much. So to see her have that, I guess, she was kind of like a mommy in that moment.
Yes, it sounds like great. She was intuitive and just kind of stepped in, and that's really awesome. Yeah. Does she ask, how old is she now? 8, you said?
She'll be 9 in March, yeah.
9 in March, okay. Did she ask questions at all?
No, she did in the beginning. She was asking just what is it? And I tried to explain it the best way I could where she could understand it. And, but now she's at the point where she doesn't really need to ask questions. She stayed home and we had to go see the specialist at the end of October. So I knew that she would be a little bit more emotional at that time, because I think just me and her dad leaving with Everett, I think just scares her and worries her. And so we did make a little thing for her to bring to school where the teacher let her get up in front of her classmates and explain how, we were away with her brother, and she kind of explained a little bit of what was going on with her brother. And that's why sometimes she might seem upset and worried at times. And it was more, I wanted the kids to understand that if there's a day she's just crying, it's just, kind of let her be, or just get on her. And because I know how kids can be, especially in 3rd grade. So it was very nice that her teacher allowed that. And I think the kids were receptive and they were asking all them questions and she was answering them. So
that's really neat.
That is cool.
With Nash, he's starting to learn, but more so the adrenal insufficiency part. And that's because he was a little too rough with him. The past time that we had a stress dose where I told you I was unsure when I should give more and how much more. And I was like waiting for the endocrinologist to call me back, and Nash got a little too rough. And I'm like, no, please don't do that. Like, he is already, not doing well with the cortisol, and I don't know what can or will happen. I don't know if anything would happen either. Don't want to risk it though. And obviously Nash being, roughhousing with him can stress him out on top of whatever he's currently battling. So I just explained to him, like, he doesn't have soldiers to fight these illnesses and to fight, when he gets hurt or a bump on his knee, or when he does get an ear infection, he doesn't have soldiers to fight them. And you do.
Good way to put it. That's a good
great way to put it. Yeah.
And my son's like, show me, mommy, show me. Like, and I'm like, I can't show you. So I put up a picture of the adrenal glands, and I was like, see this here, they don't work with Everett the way they work for you. And he was like, where's the soldiers? And I was like, all right. So I asked ChatGPT, I was like, you need to make me a visual of the adrenal glands, not really working, and soldiers.
Yeah.
It gave me a pretty good picture.
That's great.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
satisfying enough for Nash that he stopped asking for me to show him.
That's great that you're talking to your kids about it.
Yeah, and even today, because we were giving his medicine in the morning, and Nash was like going crazy, and he's like, what is that? I want that. And I'm like, no, you don't. You don't need that. And, I said, what's wrong with Everett again? He's like, I don't know, mommy, tell me. And I'm like, he's like, adrenal glands. I'm like, yeah, tell daddy. What did mommy teach you? Because my husband just went away for work the other night. So it was kind of in the midst of that. And I was like, yeah, tell daddy all about it. And he was like, he doesn't have soldiers, and the medicine gives him soldiers.
Oh, so he remembered.
Yeah. My cousin's husband is an artist, and I reached out to her around that time that I was explaining it to Nash. And I'm like, I know it sounds really weird and out of the blue, but I think I want to write a book about it, and for a young kid to understand it. Because even Everett, I don't think there's no book or I searched YouTube for videos like to teach kids about it, and there's nothing. There's one book about it, and we bought it, but it doesn't, I guess, explain it the way that I was wanting. So I was saying to my cousin, maybe her husband can help me, with making a book on it.
Yeah, I definitely believe that books can be really great tools to talk to kids about difficult and complicated things, breaking it down easily. So love that for sure.
Is there another one? Does ALD Connect? One of them I know, or was it ALD Alliance? I thought there was something out there. At least it was.
The Donut That Roared is a book about MRIs that
okay, I think it was more that.
Distributes. Yeah. There's a few different kids books. Yeah. But there needs to be more.
Cool to make another one.
Yeah. Well, no, we have the Donut That Roared, and then we have one about, I believe it's someone with Addison's disease. It's a little girl. And she is basically talking to her classmates about it in the book, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But like I said, I guess nothing that my kids are like, again, I want to see the kidneys. Show me the adrenal glands.
Yeah, definitely.
Soldiers. And like I said, I haven't really seen anything that. And if there is one, I would love for anyone to please send it my way, because then I don't have to write a book myself.
Do you hear that, listeners? Do you hear that
yeah,
call
listeners.
to action? And if not, we will create one. Okay. Yeah. So I'm curious too, like, I think what other, like you said, you've learned a lot from moms in the community, sort of, you've connected with other moms, and how has that helped you? And then what would you share? I mean, you talked about not Googling, which I think universally is such important advice, but, yeah, just curious about, other conversations you've had with moms and what you've learned. And also, what kind of piece of advice would you give to someone, a family just finding out on the newborn screen that their child has X-linked ALD?
What I guess I've seen, the one thing I can remember from the very beginning of my journey that I saw in the ALD Facebook group was, I believe I posted and a mom wrote back, I like to put it on the back burner. I would like to put it behind me, or I guess, like, I don't know how else to explain it. I don't know her exact words, so cut that. But she said, your son is healthy until you're told otherwise. And that was something that stuck with me. And then something that's kind of really, really random, but I was, again, just scrolling, and this one mom was putting the ACTH and cortisol, like she screenshotted her son's levels, and also I guess was the results from an ACTH stim test. And I was like, what's that? And then that made it where when I went to the endocrinologist, and when they were talking about, possibly putting him on a steroid and all of that, I was like, well, what about an AC? I thought that's the next step before we go to, putting him on this medicine. And so having that knowledge, I think, did help. And again, knowledge is power, and you have to advocate for your child. Something or advice that I would give would probably be to not be afraid and not be so scared. In the beginning, it is so scary, and it is a big word that none of us have ever heard of before. And I would say there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And after doing so much research and you talking to doctors, you will see that. And especially after talking to other parents, you will also see that, especially parents who, their son went through a bone marrow transplant, and you're like, wow, okay, so worst case scenario, there's something to help. And I would say to get a good team of doctors, like, you should feel the way I feel about my doctors, where you feel like they're the best in the world, and you are like, no, I don't care. You can say whatever you want to me, but these doctors to me are the best. And I would never, not that I want to trust another doctor's opinion, but I would take that opinion to the team that we currently have and say, hey, this is what I was told. What are your thoughts? And then they would be the one to tell me, what the next steps were. I think that's very, very important, is to find, and an ALD specialist is
sure
a lot in the group recently, where, people are talking about being where they are. There is no ALD specialist. So having one where, you can always reach out to them and just say, hey, can we do this kind of virtually? Unless if, needed otherwise. But an ALD specialist is definitely key, is a big key factor in the diagnosis and the monitoring.
Yeah.
I think so many people have the experience of, working with their primary care or a general neurologist, and those, they've had the experience of, those folks not knowing what the heck this is, and they're doing their own Googling, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, the ALD specialist route is definitely, I think, important. And there's just there's a few in the world. But
Mhm.
of the ones that I know, they are all receptive to, talking to people on the phone and, figuring out ways to see patients or, at least consult with their local doctors, things like that, to make it work so that, like you said, knowledge is power. That knowledge is passed on, and the patient is getting the best care possible. So I totally appreciate what you're saying there.
Yeah.
So Ken's going to ask you the $1 million question.
Oh gosh.
Okay. Now, if you could live one day without ALD, so obviously that's you and your son, what would you do? It's a deep one.
That's a very deep question there. I might have to get back to you guys on that because I feel like I'm so early in my journey, and with my son being so young right now, I guess, see, like, I don't know. Like,
You'll
Okay.
put a football helmet on him and have him
there you go. That's what
crash
we
it out
say.
with your other son. I don't know.
When he gets older, allow him to play football and, hockey and, let the kids bash their heads and go crazy.
Right.
Let them, oh my gosh, I just thought about, like, my one sister and cousin, they slid down the steps and put a hole in my aunt's wall. It's like, I can't even imagine that happening with Everett. I would be freaking out. I would be like, oh my God, we need to call the doctor and make sure that we don't need to get an MRI. And oh gosh, I'm not ready for that.
How would you use your time or resources differently? Like, Ken has something to ask too.
Like, I was gonna go, like, yeah, like, if so, like, this is assuming, obviously, ALD is not really affecting you so much, but your son, but like, ALD never came about. It was negative, it was a false, and your life be without it right now. Like, I don't know, like, how do you see that going? I mean, or just be a normal life. And it gets very deep. You could look at it so many ways, but
I feel like, I don't know, like maybe I wouldn't have as high of anxiety. I would like to live without that every single day. And when something so little happens, being so afraid. And I guess not, I feel like I'm a helicopter mom when it comes to Everett. And, with my older son, the 4-year-old, I was like, oh, he bumped his head again. You're fine. You're get back up. Or I let things go as like easier with my 4-year-old than I think I do with Everett. So living with that without that constant anxiety, I think would be wonderful.
Gotcha. Yeah. No, that's a great answer. Yeah. But
a ton of sense.
I feel like specifically this one too. Like, I feel like we're going to be going back and revisiting with like past people. So yeah, I would think, give it some years, and then I would love to catch back up. And
yeah, because that's it. Right now he can't really do much. Like, for example, he could maybe next year start pre-K 3 or like the daycare, but I'm like, nope, we're not going to do that. I'm not trusting anyone. And then, he'll go pre-K 4, but like, other than that, he's kind of he really is a normal toddler and completely normal. The only thing is we're just giving him some, crushed up medicine on yogurt every morning and just keeping an eye, obviously, and making sure that he doesn't need any more of that medicine throughout the days.
Soldiers, getting them soldiers.
Activated. That's right. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you so much for being with us today and sharing your story. It just reinforces, how strong the people in the ALD community are, and how strong you are as a mom of a boy diagnosed on the newborn screen.
Oh, well, thank you guys so much for having me and for inviting me to be on the podcast. If I can maybe help one mom in any way, that means the world.
Absolutely.
Love that. And if you're listening, walking your own ALD journey or supporting somebody walking their ALD journey, know that you're not alone, that you have others in the community to turn to talk to, just like Michaela said.